the team seeding it in comments for me. Hi Vedika, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How is everybody? Those of you who don't know me, I'm Vedika Mehta. I'm a content creator, and it's really exciting to be here on this panel with all of you.
We are excited too.
Yeah. So I'll quickly introduce the panelists who are here. So we have Falguni Dr. Falguni Vasavada-Oza. She's a professor at MICA and a content creator on the side. And Falguni has grown a great following uh, around a very specific niche over the years, and she's been an inspiration for a lot of content creators out there. We also have Manisha Kapoor. She's the Secretary General at Advertising Standard Council of India. Welcome back to the panel, Manisha. It's good to have you back here. We have Aarushi Sethi. She's the business head at Pollen, which is a part of Zoo Media. And they are a leading agency which works on influencer marketing campaigns for Indian as well as global brands who have an Indian presence. And we also have Rajni Dashwani. She's the director digital marketing at SoCheers, again, an independent digital agency which is working with quite a few brands on the influencer marketing front. We also have Taneesha Mirwani. She's a Gen Z content creator. I've heard a lot about her from my nephews and niece, and they love the kind of content she creates. So I'm really excited to have this panel. I think Saloni Gaur is yet to join, but till the time she joins, probably we could start the conversation. And like I can see on my gallery view, Manisha is at the center of this whole conversation, and ASCI is at the center of this whole conversation. So, Manisha, can you take us through the process that has gone behind these guidelines, and why? Like, what was the trigger for ASCI to do it now, and what went behind even after you releasing the draft, and what was the kind of feedback that you received from the industry, and what is it that you did? So if you could just give us a gist of the guidelines for creators and agency professionals here.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Very happy to be here and, happy to be participating in these discussions over the past few days as well. And so I think the guidelines have definitely created some kind of excitement and flutter, amongst everyone who interacts with the ecosystem. So be it content creators, influencers, or, people who are managing them, and or even brands that are engaging with influencers to create, new kinds of content. So very happy to be in the midst of this conversation. So I think, if you see what the triggers were to come to this point, I think a couple of them. One is, I think internationally also one started to see influencer guidelines come up in some of the more developing country. In the more developed countries, we saw that, over the past year or so that they had started to adopt these guidelines. I think the bigger trigger, however, to do it now and to press the accelerator on this was really, I think, the pandemic and the sheer, growth in the number of creators and the number of people who are now consuming this kind of content, and therefore it almost overnight, I think, became mainstream. And when something related to advertising becomes mainstream and therefore impacts a lot of consumers, I think it becomes ASCII's responsibility to kind of take a look at it and see whether there is any need for any kind of self-regulation in that sector. So we started this journey actually sometime late last year, sometime in December, I think, is when we started to put together a task force. The task force was built, from people both internal to ASCII, but we also collaborated significantly with other industries. So, whether it was advertisers, whether it was content creators, whether it's platforms, we kind of got all of us together, did a lot of brainstorming on what would make for fair guidelines, what should be the narrative of, this category of creators, where do we see it going forward, what's interesting and new about it, however, what could become misleading about it. So I think we had a lot of those conversations, and we did a lot of, influencer listening sessions, as to what their challenges were, what were they kind of grappling with. And I think that's when kind of we put together through a fairly large collaborative effort, we put this together. I think the other parts have largely been in the public domain. I mean, we put that out. We received a lot of great feedback. Again, we did a lot of listening sessions with a lot of influencers, advertisers, industry bodies, and we've kind of fine-tuned them, and they're here now for everyone to see.
Great to hear the process that has gone behind it, and I'm sure this is just the beginning. And over the years, this guideline would also evolve with how platforms are evolving and how even content creators are evolving as individuals. So I'll quickly pass on the conversation to Aarushi. Aarushi, what is your first thought on these guidelines? What are the kind of conversations you've been having with brands from the time the draft guidelines were released to the time that now you have a final set that has to be implemented from 14th of June? And hey, Saloni, how are you? Welcome to the panel. We'll come to you soon. Yeah, Aarushi.
Yes. So thank you for the question, Hitesh. So just like Manisha did mention, I think what we all realize over here on this panel is the fact that with great power comes great responsibility, right? So the fact that now influencers have that power to sort of influence the decisions of their audience, therefore these guidelines were much needed. But I think that that's great because authenticity, transparency is sort of the need of the hour. And these guidelines do two things. It has like a twofold approach for me. One is for brands, it's great because consumers are always, they like brands that are real, that are authentic, that are sort of, disclosing all information about themselves, whether it's ingredient, whether it's an ad, whatever it may be. So it sort of is building that trust with your brands. In terms of influencers, it's also great, according to me, because it makes influencers make conscious choices about the brands that they would like to associate with, and not just work with every brand that sends them products or that wants to associate with them, therefore increasing their brand loyalty in a way as well. And at the end of it, I think the biggest hero out of all of this is the content, right? So I think that if the content is great, these guidelines will, of course, help streamline things, but the content will still work. I think that the influencer content will still have an impact. So I think that it's a win-win for everybody on this call, as well as everybody in the industry as well. When initially the whole thought of the fact that, the guidelines are coming, what's going to happen, I think the key concern with most of the brands was, how is it going to impact us, right? Is our business going to be affected now that we disclose it? But there was also another part of the brands that was very happy, because they were anyway, a lot of them follow international standards, and therefore as part of their international mandates, they're anyway putting paid partnership, they're anyway putting sponsored hashtag ad and everything else like that. So it almost became like an even playing field. So whereas some brands were anyway doing it and some weren't, now they felt that it almost standardizes the industry in a way. But of course, there was a lot of questions that they had, and I think the guidelines have simplified, or sort of, I would say, cleared 80% of the doubts in their mind. Like, what will happen? How do we disclose it? Who will monitor it? Who talks about it? But of course, there's always room for like 20% of conversation, right? So yeah, that's my take on it.
Great. And like, I'd like to bring in Saloni here. Saloni, welcome to the panel. So like, you've been listening to these conversations. I'm sure you would have been part of a couple of discussions in the past also around this subject. So like, from a content creator's standpoint, someone who has such a huge following, such a good influence over their audiences, how do you see this guideline changing your content creation process? And also, if you could like share some insights on how it is, like, you must have worked on campaigns which did not need like a paid disclosure mandate, and at the same time there would have been campaigns wherein you would have to put like a paid tag. So how it is different for you as a creator when you see that content being like that content performing on your feed? Do you see a difference when there is a paid tag or there is no paid tag? And like, how does this change the content creation process for you?
Yeah, hi Tesh, hi and hi everybody. So yeah, the process would certainly change. I mean, there are certain brands which straight away say no to us to, don't put a paid partnership tag. They straight away say this because, when we watch something on internet, we are watching it just for entertainment purpose or whatever reasons. But we are not watching because, आज हम ad देखना है, ऐसा सोच के कोई नहीं आता है. So basically, the audience would be like, if they see a tag, oh, it's an ad, I would not want to watch it. So they have this thing in mind. So from a consumer's point of view, these guidelines are really good. I mean, people will get to know that, yeah, this content creator has been paid to do this, has been paid to say these things, and they may not believe in these products. So in that way, this is good. But as I was reading these guidelines, and it stated that if a video is like 20 seconds to 2 minutes long, the disclaimer would run for like 1/3 time of that. That was it. So I think that's too much. I mean, if they would have said that putting up the paid partnership tag is compulsory, that would have been enough. I mean, people still get to know that, okay, it's a paid partnership thing, or just a disclaimer, like in the starting of the video, not like when we are endorsing something, it's just continuously running there, because it's quite upfront. Then people will tend to.
May I just come in here and rest your doubts?
Yeah, Manisha,
Yeah,
please.
so don't feel that that is what we have wanted. That is only for videos where there is no option for you to put the disclosure in the text. If it's a post, and if it's let's say it's a YouTube video and you have a description, you put it in the description. You don't need to put anything in the video. This is only
Oh, is it?
for, yeah. So please do read the guidelines carefully. We are not really trying to kind of hamper anyone's creativity or something. So this is only in the case where there is no description possible in by way of a text. Therefore, the disclosure needs to be made on a video. Where a disclosure is possible by way of text, you don't have to put anything on your video. So I hope
So
that.
I had another doubt as well. I mean, as I was reading, I don't know if I read it right or not, but yeah, it was there was a thing that even if we are not getting paid to do to endorse something, like we got a free gift, like for say these tech gurus, which generally unbox a mobile phone. So companies send them, but they don't generally pay them. So do we still have to write that we have been paid to do this, or this is an ad?
Yeah, well, we have given you options of disclosure labels, right? I mean, there is advertisement, ad, sponsored, collaboration, partnership, employee, free gift. So use a tag that best describes that relationship. We do understand that the creator community does not like the word advertisement. So we have created a few other disclosures. So I think the disclosure is important. Again, we are not stopping you from doing anything. I mean, your content remains the way it is. I mean, it should be as interesting. I mean, really, there's nothing taking away from your content. The only thing you're doing is adding one single word, which is just a disclosure label. That's it. And we've given you those options. So choose the one that describes that relationship the best. And you can disclose it's a free gift that you're reviewing, so your consumers know about it. And that doesn't mean that they automatically feel that what you're saying has to be biased, right? I mean, they have a certain trust in you as well. And I think things like this only continue to build that trust. And all you're saying is, okay, I've got this product free, or I've got this stay free, or I've eaten this dinner free, but I can still say that I like it in a genuine way. So we are not trying to the extent possible, we are not, our intention really is not to curb anyone's creativity and freedom. But yeah, it's just balancing that with certain rights of consumers and their interests as well. So.
Yeah, that I also agree with. I mean, from a consumer's point of view, I would like to know that if a content creator is getting paid or not getting paid to endorse something.
Right, Saloni, for that question of what label you should use, Manisha said that free gift. I think they've also defined what material connection is actually. And in that material connection, it's about paid associations as well as the ones which are bartered. So I was a part of a couple of clubhouse discussions. I think one of them, even Manisha was there, wherein some influencer had mentioned that they don't like the word gifted or free gift also. So I think over time we can always come back and suggest some options for those labels to ASCII and say that you vet these labels and you see that if these labels make sense, whether it's a PR partnership or it's, I don't know, like you name it something better which goes well with what you are as a personality and at the same time applies to all barter collaborations that happen out there. So, and like I think
just to clarify, actually, this free gift was a suggestion which we got from a group of influencers, which we've included. This was actually not there in our draft guidelines. So yeah. So, but I think those preferences might differ. But yes, over a period of time, if you've I mean, we will keep an open mind in terms of the terms which have to be used, the terms which are becoming more popular, and terms which consumers understand easily. So I think that's the balance we would seek. But yeah.
Right. We could probably do a poll with content creators at large and ask them what is it that they would want to put, and like give them 4 options and they could just choose top 2.
They would
So moving
never agree on one.
you never know. I mean, like if we do it at scale and if we do it with transparency, maybe you get an answer. So, like moving on, I think, and Manisha had also mentioned, so the apprehensions which content creators have, I think Manisha has mentioned in a couple of media interactions that creativity and responsibility can go hand in hand. And I think that is one thing that creators should take note of and should not consider this as a limiting factor to their creation process at any point in time. It's actually good, like you guys said, like because at the end of the day, you are not just content creators, you are consumers of content from other creators, from bigger creators, so to say. So I'll move on to Rajni. Rajni, like I would ask I will ask another question which takes the conversation ahead from what Aarushi was mentioning around the conversations with brands. And now that the deadline for this guideline to be implemented is drawing closer, it's June 14th. Do you think you would still face challenges working with brands and convincing them of working with influencers with a paid tag, or you think they've started looking at alternatives wherein they say that we'll create own content probably featuring influencers so it comes across as an ad only eventually? So what are the feelers you've been getting from brands? Again, you work with global brands, you work with even Indian brands, and like you have worked with brands across sectors as well. So
Yeah. So I would actually like to add on what Arushi was saying, right? She touched upon three really important points of how it affects, everyone, a brand, a content creator, and eventually, consumer. One of the challenges that we've had so far is, how Saloni was also saying that brands don't want to put an ad or a sponsored content anywhere. Like that's their biggest apprehension because they see and they have seen influencer marketing as a way to organically start conversations around their product or their service or whatever they are offering. So if they want to do paid, they go to paid media, do traffic campaigns, performance driven, etc., right? And it's a very direct comparison eventually for them. When it comes to allocating monies, it either goes into a direct ad or it goes into influencer marketing, where you're able to create a more affluent awareness sort of campaign for the brand. So one is that they want to see it as organic, and the minute this paid ad comes in, they are a little reluctant to get on board. And I'm sure these requests haven't started coming in yet, but they will. Of let's find ways that it looks as organic as possible still. Let's find hacks into how we can do the guidelines, make sure influencers are on board, and still hide it or bury it under somewhere. We are following everything, but it's not out there. So that's going to be something that we will see, I think, as we get into it, as it hits in, and it gets real, right? Whenever we've tried to inform our brand so far, it's just been okay, let's see what happens, how far it goes. Because even when the draft guidelines came and we informed our clients, and they were just like, ठीक है, we'll see when it happens, that sort of thing. So that's the approach we've seen so far. A lot will come, like as soon as we go live, we'll see. But like Manisha also clarified, right? A lot of them have doubts on what actually can be done and what can't be done. So if we can have a little bit more clarity for both brands and content creators on what is it that we can do or we can't do, I think that will help them get on to this and make this a little bit easier for them to adapt as well. I think it's a great thing for creators though, because now they won't be forced to do things that brands want them to do. Like sometimes they're just stuck, right? That brand brief has come and we have to do this and all of that. So I think they will have a lot more say, because what works on their platform, they understand it the best. And content is going to be the king going forward, right? You create good content, then it doesn't matter if it has a ad sponsored content or whatever. If it's good content, people will consume it. So I think creators will have a lot more say. I think brands will be a little bit reluctant. A little bit traditional brands might go back to doing paid over influencers if it's coming across as too paid. But I think time will tell. A lot we'll see as it goes on, how they adapt to it, that sort of thing.
right, I'll come to Falguni. Falguni, like you've been a academician yourself, and then you started your content creation journey as well, and you've seen how like even advertising guidelines have been introduced, have been implemented over the years, and you have been like probably you've been nurturing some of those young content creators in class too, and you must have seen them grow as big as what they are today. So what is it that you think would change for content creation? Do you think this would affect their monetization roadmap? Do you think it'll change the way they look at things and like their perspective towards advertising and content marketing? Because they've been taught content marketing with a very different lens, which says that there are two kinds of appeal. There is direct, there is indirect. If you're creating content which is subtle, it drives a message for a brand, and at the same time it doesn't come across as an ad to a consumer, then that is something that is like you are a good content creator in that sense. So how does this change, and you like what is your perspective on this?
Yeah, sure. I think at the risk of sounding ancient among these Gen Z content creators, since 24 years, let me wear my advertising professor's hat. So since 24 years, we have seen the evolution. We have had ASCI team in our classes. And if you look at the history of how ASCI happened, it happened, as Manisha rightly said, for rebuilding and gaining the trust of people in advertising so that you don't lose public confidence in advertising. So we need to understand that. I think I am all for the guidelines, because as any industry grows and becomes mainstream, it will need certain, documentation of processes. It will need some guidelines, some code of conduct, some, boundaries. Otherwise, it can go haywire. So firstly that, and kudos Manisha to your entire team, because I've been a part through the entire process, because through ad club interactions and all. So the way in which they have made it very inclusive, because first they released drafts, they asked for suggestions, they asked laymen to give suggestions by putting the draft open on their website. So I think the process was very inclusive. And yes, as you're rightly saying, I think starting from Aarushi, I think we all are repeating that point that content is the real hero. So why should we even be bogged down by the fact that just by putting a paid partnership tag or a free gift tag or an ad hashtag or a collaboration hashtag, things are going to entirely change? But yes, you will have to have some strategy in place, and that is the difference. So no longer brands can be extremely lazy about their approach of, looking at influencers, telling them ki we are sending this to you, kuch thoda unboxing kar dena, aapki stories pe. So they will also have to do a lot of hard work, sit with agencies and figure it out that where is my brand influencer fit, where is my hyper localization reach as far as my network of influencers and content creators are concerned. So I think more strategy, statistics, data analysis, hard work will get involved at the client and the agency side. And somewhere on the content creator side, they will need to keep the faith in their content creation abilities. So the product plugin, right, or the brand that they are working in is just a little bit of reference to their entire story, in which very beautifully the script is, making space for that integration for that brand, right? So somewhere content still remains the hero, and your transactional abilities, your abilities to connect with your audiences, your conversations with your followers, I think you will have to smartly tap it and continue the faith in your abilities, in your personal branding, in understanding your niche and why do followers look up to you. So I think somewhere, say for example, if I'm sailing in the same boat, I will start questioning myself, should I even endorse this particular brand or not? Right? So like where I said, the choice factor, the strategy part will be higher on the brand side, but even a content creator will have to start choosing which brands they want to get associated with, where there is a good fit between what they are standing up for and what followers are looking up to them for. So I think clarity is required that content creation is a very different ball game. And you are now becoming a part of something which is going to be mainstream, and hence guidelines are required and you follow those guidelines. But I think that gives you more space to be more creative. That's what I feel. So I don't think it will impact, also I think it will lead to newer monetization opportunities. That's what I feel. So rather than just the pay for one post, static post, video post, I think we all keep hearing these things when brands write to us, right? I think more than that, brands will find a way to how to tell the story in a better way. Now, content creators will get involved in the strategy process. So no longer an agency will write to me, madam, ye tweet kar do na next half an hour mein. This is the payment that we are going to give you. So rather than doing that, ask me to do a host or Twitter spaces where I'm conversing about your brand, where I'm, say, for example, Deutsche Bank comes to me and I'm conversing about how tax planning amongst women entrepreneurs is very important. What are some of the soft loans that government can give? Now, slowly I am building up. Now, there is a Deutsche Bank person sitting in the conversation space as a mystery shopper, for all you know. So now I'm just thinking on my feet right now, but I'm saying this will lead to newer ways of engaging, newer ways of monetizing. But you have to remember, consistency and clarity of your content has to be the hero. That will never change. That should never change.
I just like to add one thing to what Falguni just mentioned, is the fact that even after disclosing that it's an ad, if you still see engagement, the intent of your consumer is so much higher. Therefore, the brand is also winning, right? Because you're saying that today they're watching my product for just say 3 minutes, they're watching my video for 3 minutes. But now after disclosing in the first 3 seconds, in the first 3 seconds, if you're disclosing that it's an ad and they still see the whole video, it's so much higher intent, right? So it's also, I think, a lot about how we interpret the guidelines to our brands, and we show them the positive side of it as well, being the agency sitting in the middle, because they may interpret it in a very different way. But if we show them, like, hey, look, this is intent. Hey, look, you're building a loyal community, because they know it's a paid thing, but they're still coming again and again and again to see more of what your brand is doing. So I think a lot is also left to our interpretation, as well as the way we, like I said, explain it to our brands.
Yeah, I think
Also,
you very correctly said. I think also the fit, that part I talked about, and the authenticity part that you and I think Rajni talked about a while back. So the authenticity and the fit, will make people still consume the same content even after the declaration. You're right.
Also, to add to what Falguni and Aarushi said, it helps the influencer build a very trustable community where the audience knows what you're proposing as organic content and what is sponsored. So in the end, it's actually good that you have a loyal base of your audience.
Right. So, Taneesha, Vedika, from your vantage point as young creators, and I think what Rajni was saying, that brands would start asking for workarounds or hacks or tips to still make things work with content creators. I think you guys, the Gen Z creators, so to say, would be the first ones to crack it in my opinion, because I think the kind of engagement that you guys drive on your profiles, or what Vedika was saying, the kind of trust that you already have built on, like, with your followers, is much higher than the ones who had started before you, because you'd seen everything and then you started this journey. So when these guidelines came to you, what was your first impression, and how do you see these things? And I'm expecting, like, because you are not talking to as many brands, agencies, you've not spent as much time also on this side of the thing. So as a content creator, what is your gut say about these guidelines? What are some of the things that are concerning to you? Probably you could ask some questions to Manisha also around it, like Saloni had also asked one. So yeah, Taneesha,
as someone who picks and chooses my brands carefully, I was actually very happy to see that the guidelines encourage creators to look for good brands and to look for better brand opportunities and stuff that match their own brand and their own content. But then I also had a few concerns with it, because Rajni said earlier that, when you add paid promotion and stuff, brands may give you more freedom. However, I disagree. I feel like when you add that this is a paid promotion, the brand now knows that you're representing the brand officially. And there have anyway been a lot of problems with creative freedom. I feel like now the brand will try to control what I put out even more, because now I'll be officially representing them. One, and while yes, it would create a loyal fan base and stuff like that to have it, like when if they choose to watch after that. But the fact is that there are a lot of them who will choose not to watch your content after knowing that it's an ad, and that also gives me the concern of engagement with my content and growing as a content creator. And if there is lesser engagement when it says paid promotion, I feel like brands may try to negotiate with prices and stuff more, which I feel makes it a little bit unfair to content creators. But then again, as a consumer myself, I definitely agree that I would also want to know. So I feel like there's a bit of that conflict in my head for me. And I wish that maybe there would have been more like guidelines to protect the interests of influencers as well.
Quickly, like all those who are watching, do you guys think that a paid tag would reduce the engagement rate on a creator's content? And like those who are here, probably Falguni, Saloni, Vedika, Taneesha, have you guys experienced this in the past, that you've done like a promotion with a paid tag and at the same time you've done something with no tags at all? Have you seen that dip in engagement? Is it like a validated statement, like at least in this particular panel? Do you think that has happened? You've seen a dip or
Okay,
not?
not really, because when you professionally shoot a video, now suppose today I'm shooting for a shampoo or something, if it's professionally shot with the lighting and the camera and everything, the audience knows this is not organic. In a way, yes, they know it's a paid partnership. So adding the tag doesn't really make a huge difference for me. I, in fact, like the transparency because, of course, the audience should know what I'm promoting organically and what is sponsored. Secondly, I like how the paid partnership tag with these guidelines puts me in a powerful position in a way where tomorrow, if a brand sends me a product and a script, and I use it and that's not working out for me. So today I can tell the brand, I'm not going to say this in the video because the claim is not true. So before these guidelines, I didn't think I was in a position to answer this because okay, they're paying me. This is the script. These are the claims. I have to say it. Today, after these guidelines, I can actually go like, no, I'm not going to say this because your product is not working for me. I mean, this is not. It doesn't do this. So I think in this way, it's very good that we can do this. So these guidelines are actually good for influencers as well. So yeah.
But like in one word, yes or no, do you guys think that there will be a dip in engagement rate for a paid tag content? No. Saloni, for you, Taneesha?
Just a little bit. I do feel like I have seen it on my own profile, on some of my fellow in my circle of creators. I've seen it a little bit, that when we put the paid promotion, or if you're promoting on your Instagram profile as a static post, I have seen it go down.
Saloni, for you?
Yeah. So for my videos, obviously this has not happened. I mean, my videos are generally me standing in front of a wall, and my paid videos are also like that. So viewers generally don't see a difference in it. And as a content creator, I always, my first priority is to engage my audience and to make them laugh, and so I always keep my content very organic. I mean, even if I'm integrating some product, I always use it in a funny way, that okay, so अगर मैं आज से अभी क्रिप्टो करेंसी का बहुत चल रहा है, इवन इफ आई एम प्रमोटिंग एनी क्रिप्टो प्लेटफॉर्म, तो उसे भी आई विल ट्राई टू मेक इट in a humorous way. But if you go completely sell out, आप straight away जाके उन लोगों से बोल रहे हो कि buy this, ये तो कर ही लो, ये कर लो, so you would obviously see a dip in your engagement.
But Saloni, I don't think वो करना भी है ना. Content creators would not want to do that, right?
No, there are certain people who
No, that's why then they are not the real content creators. That's what I meant when I said content is your hero. Yeah. Like Saloni, when I'm looking at your videos, and of course I'm a big fan, you should know that. So whenever I'm looking at your different characters that you portray, there is till the end, even if you are naming a brand or you are talking about a product, my focus is on your content. My focus is on your dialogues, your style. So I think that has to be the main character. And I think hence it won't change.
Yeah. Yes.
And also for static posts. Okay. Yeah.
No, go for it, Saloni.
So I was saying, as for static posts, like Taneesha was saying, so this thing I have noticed, I mean, static posts don't really work. I mean, even if we put a branded tag on it, or even if we don't, I mean, people love to watch our selfies or whatever we are doing in our day-to-day lives, but they really don't want to see a static post of some brand like we are holding a product. So they generally don't work, even if we put a tag or we don't.
Yeah, the moment you put like those those coupon codes and like branded hashtags, the moment these brands start treating influencers as those billboards, anyways, whatever you do, whether it's a paid tag or not, things won't work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Aarushi, you were saying something?
Yes, I was saying the same thing, Hitesh. I said, just to sort of address the content creators' points as well. The fact that so far today, when we look at any celebrity content, right, and as of today, the ASCI guidelines haven't been implemented, right? So still, we know that there's a clear difference within when they talk about a product and when they don't talk about a product, when they probably just talk about their kids or their family. So I don't think adding the tag in any way is going to reduce the engagement. It is a natural phenomena that branded versus non-branded content, there is a difference in engagement. So just to address Taneesha's question, even if I don't have this as a mandate, just as a format, it is natural that branded content will not do as well and your engagement on those posts will be lower. So that in a way I feel is a lot more motivating for influencers, because it, like even Falguni was saying, it pushes them to actually create original content, right? You're not just depending on brands for the posts on your page. You actually are creating original content, whether it's your, I don't know, your it could be your skincare routine, it could be you imitating actors or whatever your forte is. Or like Saloni herself does a lot of her own original style of content. So I think it pushes them to really stand out as content creators and not just as people who I say review brands or work on branded posts. And I think a clear indication of this was in the lockdown. So what happened with a lot of influencers who today brands were not sending them products, right? Because it was lockdown, everybody had tight budgets, they had nothing to post because that's the only kind of content that they do. Whereas the content creators who were creating original content were still entertaining and engaging with their audiences. So I think Taneesha, even with your content, for example, right, the fact that you do so much content on your own, you will automatically always, sort of keep engaging your community, and these one-off branded content will sort of nicely balance it out.
I think all of us will agree that content is going to be the core theme. Like we just all want good content, and it's going to help us, all creators and brands, survive this. So yeah.
I think
So
one
now I'll take.
would also, sorry if I may come in, Hitesh. I think the other point that I would also add in, and some of you alluded to that, is at the end of the day, as an influencer, what makes you successful is the fact that your audiences trust you and they like seeing you and they believe what you say. And in fact, the whole community of influencers is actually come out of saying that these are people I can trust because they are authentic, they are transparent, they say things the way they are, they will not airbrush when they come, and I see what they look like in their everyday life. So there is just so much authenticity and transparency which is, I think, inherent in the way that content creators communicate with their audiences. And to my mind, this is just another way of doing that. And in the long run, these are all things which help you to connect with your audiences. And when you have your audiences trust, I mean, trust me that that's the most precious thing that you have, right? I mean, and that's going to be the basis of any kind of expansion, in your follower base, or in perhaps even in the kind of brands that come to you when, you say that, I'm a responsible influencer, and you demonstrate that. I mean, I would think that, a certain kind of brand, and maybe the more responsible brands would see you as therefore becoming an attractive kind of influencer to work with as well. So I think it also has, to my mind, very positive spin-offs, on your kind of, on your growth as an influencer.
I think it's like that medicine that you might not like the taste of it initially, but it will eventually treat you well. So I'll take a back step now, probably take a back step in this conversation, and I would want you to look at this is one section that I do in every panel discussion or a roundtable that we do, that we get the panelists to ask a question, and we do it in a chain. So one of you can start the chain, ask a question to another person, the other person can then pass on a question to the third person. Manisha, you've done this before, I think. And just make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak. There is a question for everyone in the chain, and no one gets two questions to answer. So probably we could start with you, Vedika, if you have a question for people on this panel. And like you could ask a question to someone, others can always join in with their opinion, but you can ask a question to someone and that person can then pass it on to another.
Okay, so Manisha, I'd actually like to ask you that this industry had been like unregulated for a long time, right? But what were the main factors that now these guidelines came in? Like, of course, we are all agreeing with the guidelines, but like just to understand that what was the main necessity, what you saw that okay, we really need this, we need to implement this. So what was that?
I think it's simple. It's the growing influence of influencers. I mean, you just see it becoming that much larger, it impacting that many more people. Digital itself as a platform is, I mean, I think in 2 or 3 years, it'll probably overtake television in terms of its, I mean, it's already so close to, it's already kind of ahead of print. And therefore, it's an absolute mainstream medium. And I think within that, the influencer and content creator community is also expanding within that. So it's just that it's becoming mainstream, and it is therefore impacting consumers in a large way. And therefore, as a self-regulatory organization, when you look at balancing what is consumer interests with the interests of obviously people who want to advertise and want to reach out to those consumers, I think the time was kind of ripe for us to do that. So yeah.
I have a question for Manisha as well.
Okay, am I going to be answering all questions? I don't mind, because I have a question for all of you.
Yeah, Manisha, so, you could ask the question in Saloni. You can ask like in your turn, like when someone points a question to you can...
I didn't know it's going to be like that. Okay, sorry.
So Manisha, what is your question? And probably like you can address it to one person or everyone, that's not a problem.
Sure. So let me address it to Professor Falguni, because I think she has the right mix of experience to help us answer this. So at ASCI, one of our questions is, how do we make sure that these guidelines reach every influencer in the country, that they start to understand it, better, and just for it to reach everyone, what should ASCI do? And I mean, we are obviously doing things like this, but, would love to hear what your advice would be.
Yeah, so I guess things like these and more of marketing communication activities take help from influencers who will help you take the message forward. I think you should be a part of all seminars in leading management schools where you go and have this dialogue, because today in all colleges, you have different forms of content creators present. So if you can catch hold of colleges across India and do, of course, I'm talking about post-COVID era nonetheless, but if you can like go and do like a proper, road show, which we say in our marketing language, like a road show across colleges, because that's where you will catch them young, right? So, and of course, you are doing enough in terms of Twitter, Instagram, social media, using your website. But I think you need to pull in a little more key people who are not from ASCI, but from the social media world, to spread this message further.
Yeah,
to add to what Falguni said, Manisha,
sorry, just in my selfish interest, we will speak after this at some point to connect with Micah.
Definitely, of course. Sure.
Yeah, so to add to what Falguni was saying, I think there are a lot of myths which people might have come across while reading these guidelines, even going through these sessions. So like a weekly or a regular exchange which only talks about the myths that people have, that you would also identify from conversations which are happening in the open space. So if you could address those myths on a timely basis, on a time-to-time basis, I think things would improve, and you would also get a lot of constructive feedback to sort of add more addendums to the guidelines. So Falguni, now it's your turn.
Okay, question. So but I can ask from content creation space as well, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'll ask a question to Saloni, and my question is that, see, as you're growing by leaps and bounds, and you'll be getting quite a bit of collaborations, big brands coming to you. So when you choose, what is your most important parameter? Is it the brand, or is it the degree of freedom that the brand is giving you to create the content your way. You're on mute, Saloni, you're on mute. Yeah.
I'm basically not that tech savvy. I just got to know that. So yeah, I want to add a little story. Like last year during lockdown, a lot of brands were sponsoring our content, and everybody was getting sponsored posts and all that. So a Rummy brand came to me, and I did that brand. I mean, I did not think twice. I was very new to all of this. I had just got a massive following, and I did not think it twice. So, but after I posted that, I realized that, I don't even play Rummy, and I don't endorse gambling and all of that. Even it did not involve any kind of money. I mean, I think that game was it was a separate game without without gambling. So, but still I thought that, if I don't play something, like if I'm endorsing a shampoo brand,
Right.
I might use it on myself first. So after that, what all products I have endorsed until now, I have used those products first, and then I have endorsed them. So yeah, so I see that first. I mean, I just don't like these. I saw a creator once who endorsed a mobile network, and I personally know that that particular person told me that she doesn't even use that particular network. So I felt that, you should lie to your audience. I mean, I endorse products which I use and which I have used before endorsing them. I mean, if I don't use them every day in my life, but still I have, saw that, yeah, they work and they don't. So now I have become like, I see what I should endorse and what I should not. Oh yeah, so
Right.
now it's my turn.
Right, sir.
Yeah, so my question was to Manisha. Manisha, how are you planning to regulate all this? I mean, who is going to be the watchdog? I mean, how are you planning to see if the content creator is putting that tag or not? I mean, kaise hone wala hai ye sab?
Yeah, so trust me, people at ASCI are not going to sit day and night trawling through ads. We have the use of technology. So we've identified, it's amazing what technology can do. So we have identified a tech partner, and through some very intelligent artificial intelligence and some regex. So now I'm kind of also learning some of these terms, which is basically they identify patterns, and on a live basis, I can track anyone who is where the content appears promotional but there is no disclosure label. So it kind of gives us the ability to trawl through all of that. Of course, we will prioritize, from time to time, maybe certain sectors, maybe certain kind of posts which have a lot of reach, like I said, or maybe certain sectors, certain brands that we feel may be violating. So from time to time, those parameters will change. But yes, we do have technology in place that will help us do that. And that's the plan to monitor it.
Right. Manisha, now again, the baton is on you to pass on a question. Probably you could do it to Aarushi, Rajni, Taneesha, or Vedika.
I just want to ask Taneesha, how young are you?
And I just turned 19 this year. So.
All right, lovely. And are you studying? I'm assuming you are studying.
I am. I'm currently studying, but I've taken a gap semester right now because of the whole COVID situation. But I do get back to studying. I'm a freshman in college.
Fantastic. I'm so in awe of people like you who are, at such a young age, kind of, reaching out, doing what you like, creating something very interesting for the world. So, I mean, just keep it up. It's great. I mean, I'm a big fan of interesting content. I think like everyone else, I spend a significant amount of time also scrolling through, great content created by all of you. So yeah, just very happy to see someone like you here. So
thank you so much. I have a question for Aarushi and Professor Falguni as well. My question to Aarushi is, as someone who represents brands and considering the new guidelines and stuff, I would just want to know how exactly, as a brand, you would like to see somebody officially represent your brand, and what you think the guidelines between a brand and an influencer should be when it comes to a paid collaboration, and now that it's going to be official, a more ethical way of going about it. And to Dr. Falguni, this comes simply from my own curiosity. I just want to know the importance of influencers when you teach and how it's inculcated into syllabuses and stuff like that. So, yeah.
You can go first, Falguni.
Okay, so your question is about how influencers are important or going to be important in brand communication, right?
Yes, specifically educationally.
Yes.
Well, because
Influencers are only going to grow with or without guidelines, because somewhere the consumer detaches the influencer and the content creator from mass media. That is advertising on TV, radio, out of home hoardings, your website ads, the banner ads that are company sponsored. Okay, so there is a lot of less commercial entity that content creators have than what the brand sends out on mass media. So authenticity, connect with the content creators, influencers is always going to be very high. And we are moving in an age of marketing where while everything is going global, there's a lot of things going local. So like, Group M said the top 3 trends for this year is video, voice, and vernacular. So we need influencers and content creators for the hyper local reach. That's how radio is also never going to die. Right? We say that radio is never going to die, because the radio jockey and the level of pulse of that connect with that culture. So I am a Gujarati, so that Kokila Ben is trending because of Yash Raj, of course, but the Ahmedabadi culture, the Navratri feel, and for you all, it's like, oh, it's Falguni Pathak Dandiya. No, Navratri is a very different affair in Gujarat. So that only that RJ will know. So hyper-localization, reach, vernacular content, and your unique ability to detach from the commercial existence of the brand is always going to rock the show. So it's only going to increase.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's good to know.
Yes. So Taneesha, to sort of address your question, and I think it was primarily like, how will we therefore facilitate this between brands and influencers, right? I guess that's what you asked. So I think the way I look at it, like, how there is a television ad, right? And television ads today also have their own mandates or their own disclaimers or their own, say, terms and conditions that they need to disclose. So this is nothing different from that, right? So like when we set templates with brands, for example, right? So the templates we set could be from a design language point of view. The logo will always be top right, font will always be 0.12. So that this sort of disclosure or this almost becomes like a part of that brand guideline, right? So that it becomes like, okay, hashtag ad, bottom right, so much font size. So from a brand's point of view, we are going to look at more of almost templatizing it as to where it's going to be placed, whether it's in the caption, whether it's in the post, whether it's in the video. From an influencer's point of view, I think as an agency head, we've always sort of stood for the creativity of the influencer, because we understand that only when they're their most authentic self does it do justice to both the brand as well as to the actual content, which is then indirectly influencing their audience. So we will probably give you, I think the best way to do it, Taneesha, would be give the influencer 4-5 options of how they could disclose that this is an ad, and then let them choose the one, like not necessarily, put that hard and fast rule that you have to write hashtag ad or you have to put paid partnership, or, instead of putting too many rules, because Gen Z doesn't like rules, we know that. So, but give them options, let them feel empowered, let them make the choice of how they'd like to disclose it. So yeah, I think that's the best way to deal with the situation.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're most welcome. And just, I think, to complete the roundtable, I shall ask Rajni the last question. Okay.
No, I think,
so
Rajni can then ask a question to Vedika. She's also.
Oh, sorry. I thought Vedika. Sorry, Vedika. I thought Rajni was the only one left. Okay. So, Rajni, my question to you is probably, and I think I feel personally that this whole guidelines for influencer marketing is going to also have a larger impact on digital marketing, right? It's going to make influencer marketers a lot more conscious. They're going to want to know a lot more about the larger digital ecosystem, which currently doesn't exist, right? Because a lot of influencer/influencer agencies only know their little bit of niche. And where I'm coming from is, for example, today, say I put a paid partnership tag, right? And I'm going to, on Instagram, and I'm going to be tagging that brand page. Today, for me, how I interpret that is that the brand themselves will have to think that, therefore, do I need a separate brand page for all my products? Because today I'm directly, say any brand, Nestle, I'm probably just doing paid partnership Nestle, but Nestle has, I don't know, more than 100 products. So do you want a attribution of Maggie to go to the Nestle parent brand necessarily, right? So you have to understand how the larger digital ecosystem works as well. So do you also think it's going to impact, or do you think that no, it can still work in isolation?
I think, like I was saying earlier, right, a lot will depend on how we get into the execution of this and how it pans out. But I'm not sure if the whole name thing or an entire brand thing is going to have that much of an effect eventually, because the brand is seen in the ad, right? If you're promoting Maggie, for example, taking your example, it's going to out there and everyone sort of knows it belongs to Nestle. Similarly with a Cadbury, similarly with, they have only brand pages, but they have multiple products that they do under it. Same with P&G, for example, right? So I think that's good, because brands will know that there is a group company also that this belongs to, which sometimes people don't have the awareness of. When you're buying a product, that this actually belongs to this group company, like an HUL or a P&G. It usually happens. They branded themselves as separate products. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. If they see a need, yes, definitely, I think we might see it, but I don't think it's going to come for the next 1-2 years at least. We still have like a way of time to sort of get there overall, in terms of having a separate brand page if they require, or any of that bit. I think other than that, innovative content is going to be the most important, I think. Okay, I'll go next and ask the last question to Vedika. So Vedika, I just want to understand from your perspective, and from your peers, I'm sure you'll have had this discussion. What is it that's going to be the most important? And what are going to be challenges that you all see, in adapting to these guidelines also?
So, what is important here is that these guidelines created a sense of seriousness regarding influencer marketing, that being an influencer is not a side hustle, it is a proper, legitimate profession. Guidelines give a little more seriousness to that, because I think there has been a massive shift because of the pandemic to, complete digital media. And people were not taking influencers seriously, but I think guidelines help doing that. That okay, it's legitimate, now this is a big part of a whole marketing mix. Any company who's starting has to consider influencers as well. It's important. So I think that has worked well for us. The challenging part is that a lot of times brands want you to make the content look very organic, that they're like, okay, this is a partnership, but make it look organic. And suppose if it's a huge brand that has a base abroad, maybe in the States or something, then they'll be like, okay, the handle is with them, so we can't give a paid partnership tag. I myself have faced these challenges where I have to ask a brand that, listen, where is the tag? Because the content looks professionally shot, it looks like it's paid. So that is one challenge in getting these things done from brands. So I think brands also have to be very mindful about the claims that they're making, and so do influencers, because we have to very carefully choose what brands we want to be associated with, because now it's going to be like in the name above the post, right? So yeah, I hope
Thanks.
that answered your
Yeah.
question.
So there's
Okay,
one question
thank you.
in comments which is very common, and I want to ask it to Manisha, because you'll be the right person to do it. People are asking, what is the kind of penalties a creator or a brand would have to face if they're not following the guidelines, and if ASCI finds out that like there is a paid collaboration which is without tags and they're flouting the guidelines. So are there any penalties involved? And I'm taking another step and asking, how do we report this to you? I know there is a WhatsApp number for ASCI which is for everyone advertising as well, but then for these guidelines specifically, is there a specific channel which consumers or agencies should reach out to in case they want to report something?
Yeah, so let me answer your second question first, because it's a shorter answer. The answer is that our WhatsApp number currently is the way to reach us. We are, I mean, also through our website there is a complaints kind of login that you can do online. as of now, we are intending to use that. I mean, if there is another channel we open up in the future, we'll certainly kind of reach out and let you know. I'll come to the earlier part now, which is actually an important question. See, if you look at self-regulation and what does self-regulation means? Self-regulation comes when, as a group of people, we come together and we say that, hey, look, we are in this, business of influencing people. We are in this business of, talking to consumers. Do we or do we not all align and agree that there is actually a sense of responsibility in doing this? Okay. Or do we feel that consumer trust, is something which is so cheap that, I mean, let's get away with it. And maybe someone who is in the short term may want to do that, but anyone who is in the in this game for the long term and also has a sense of their own sense of what is right and wrong, so if you look at, let's say, I just take a parallel example. If you look at policing, okay, you have the police, but do you think that as individuals, let's say in schools or parents, therefore no one has to talk about the sense of responsibility because police to hai baad mein na, to kuch galat karoge to police pakdega. The idea is saying that let's create around ourselves what is right and wrong, and these become the values of growing our industry, and which is when the government will hopefully not come and give you do exactly this, right? I mean, we create our own ecosystem of what is safe, what is responsible behavior, and if we can take care of it ourselves, I mean, to my mind, that's the biggest thing that we can do to protect our own creativity. That's number one. I think number two, I think more than a fine that you can pay, what is really most precious is your reputation. Okay. If you come across as an influencer who's constantly violating the guidelines, and let's say I don't charge a penny out of you, but 10 brands see that on our website as, hey, this is a brand that, is constantly flouting guidelines. Who do you think will want to work with you? What are the kind of brands that you would get? And you might get brands that are also irresponsible. I mean, that could be a partnership that, eventually comes, but I don't think that, that's what people are gunning for. I don't think that's how people want to build their careers as content creators. And if together we can all come and say that, look, we are a bunch of responsible people, and again, to look at these guidelines is not something which has got imposed on them, but saying that, yes, this is something which we believe is good for our industry. It is good for people like us. So I think that's the idea of self-regulation. The idea of self-regulation is a moral compass. It is not the police. Okay. And ASCII is, therefore, again, our approach is collaborative, and, what we do may not make everyone happy. And, we have advertisers who will fight bitter battles with us and, say, you upheld this complaint against me and, ye wo falana. But on the idea of self-regulation, they are standing 100% behind ASCII. So on individual cases, we may all differ. We may all have different opinions, and, you may think that ASCII is too harsh and things like that. But I think at a concept level and at a belief level, the idea that self-regulation, has a powerful role to play in how the whole narrative on responsible, transparent advertising and communication and consumer interest as communicators, like I said, I mean, what we have is our consumers' trust and our reputation. And, self-regulation is a way to protect that. So I think, these regulations, to my mind, are much more important than any fine that we can do. At a practical level, if you're asked to take down your ad, it's a pain. If you're asked to reshoot your ad, it's a pain. We all know how much effort goes into even 3 seconds of communication that you put out there, right? So yes, I mean, so to say that, to withdraw your ad or to modify your ad is no penalty, I would disagree with that. Having been on the marketing side and, knowing how every single thing needs to be thought through, and, there's so much attention which is paid. So I would say that those are good penalties, if you say. The other thing to just note is that, the new Consumer Protection Act does have responsibilities of endorsers. Okay. And while they haven't yet defined what endorsers are, but without definition, technically everyone on this page, maybe other than me, is, is an endorser. So I think, yeah, the key thing is that, let's understand and take our responsibility seriously, and make sure that, we are on the right side of morality, and, that we have a moral compass which tells us right from wrong, right? Each of us has that in us. And, why should the communication that we do, or the, none of us want to be, so many of you all said that, if I were a consumer, I would not like this done to me. So why would we want to do it to someone else? And I think, again, the whole idea of self-regulation is for us to come together and say that this is the right thing for us. Rather than say, okay, let me try and do something wrong and see if ASCI catches me. I mean, if enough people do that, it ruins the reputation of the industry. I mean, to my mind, those are very powerful deterrents. But we will not impose a penalty on anyone. We will not send anyone to jail. That's not what ASCI does.
Thank you, Manisha, for answering this concern, and I think you put it quite well there. So I'll quickly summarize the session, like to the content creators here. I'll put it in the sense of a meme reference. Ke ghabrana nahi. There is a lot of scope for your content in your IPs to grow, and these regulations will actually differentiate the degree of impact. Like if you guys are impacted like 1 to 5%, then you guys have been on the right track, and this would propel you guys forward. And you always have agencies like, say, Aarushi, there are agency heads like Aarushi, Rajni, and then your own talent management teams to help you, come out of this stronger, and to help you with new monetization possibilities. So one of the sessions that I had last time, I think Gunjan from OML had given a couple of great examples on how influencers have gone beyond brand collaborations to launch their own labels or to launch an entire series with a certain brand, which is like out and out paid collaboration. It's known to everyone, but still it has helped the brand and it's helped the creator as well. So there are a lot of possibilities. To the agencies, I think you guys have a very tough uphill battle to implement this on the brand side of things, because there are guidelines from ASCI, there is a content creator in place, but eventually it's you who's facing that brand and who's educating, like who's actually helping them unlearn and relearn the whole mix. So all the best to you guys, and I hope influencer marketing gets that, like moves up in the value chain in that conversation, and you guys have your, like you guys get more share of thought in that boardroom with the CMO. And Manisha, to you and ASCI, I think everyone has expressed their gratitude across different walks of this industry, and we can't thank you enough for giving that that whole structure to the concept of influencer marketing, and to acknowledge the influence of all these influencers out there. So we hope to have these dialogues with each one of you in the near future. And like I'm planning to host a clubhouse session right after this, maybe sometime around 9:30. If you guys want to join, feel free to join in. And those who couldn't get to speak in the lobby while watching the stream, you guys can come on board and we could have like a freewheeling discussion there as well. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot for sparing our time for this. We
Thank
hope
you.
to.
Pleasure. We had a good time.
Thank you for having
Yes,
us.
thank you.
If I may just add before we all go. So one is, I think a big thanks to all the influencers and the content creator community, I think, for supporting ASCI so wholeheartedly. I think we've been quite touched with the positive response, with the support that a lot of influencers organically come and said, we'll promote these guidelines and we'll talk about these guidelines. And we have also created ASCI.social as a as a platform which we intend to make something which influencers and content creators can come understand about responsibility. So we'd love your ideas, love your inputs on, please send us your videos. We will host it on ASCI.social. So it just becomes something which, we really want the community to own these guidelines and to spread these guidelines. It's not ASCI sitting outside, who needs to be doing this. All of you as leading content creators, please help us spread this message. Please participate with us, and together let's kind of do this. So so thank you all very much for all the support that we've got. Truly grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Have a
guys.
great
Thank you.
day. Stay safe. Take care.